4.5 quadratic equations. So when we have quadratic equations, we have zeros of a function. Zeros of a function is where it crosses the x-axis. This is also called your x-intercept. Those two are the same thing. So we have a zero product rule, meaning it doesn't matter A or B. If these two multiply together equals 0, A could be 0 or B equals 0. That's important here. So my zero product property is we want to figure out where the graph crosses the x-axis. That's what we're looking for in this 4.5 section. So before we can figure out where a solution of a quadratic is, a solution is where it crosses the x-axis, I have to first factor this because I have to get it so it says these two things multiply together and equal 0. When I'm factoring those two numbers that multiply to get positive 6, add together to get negative 5 would be negative 2 and negative 3. Because again, they multiply right here to get my positive 6, and if I add these together, I get negative 5. If you still need help factoring, you need to come in for help. So now, if I want to figure out what x is equal to, this could be 0, or this could be 0. Again, going back to this right here, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to have set this equal to 0, and set this equal to 0. So I'm going to add 2 here, I get x equals 2, add 3 here, I get x equals 3. So what this actually is are the 2 points that crosses my x-axis. Here is my answer where it crosses the x-axis. If for some reason is not already set equal to 0, first thing I have to do is set this equal to 0. So before I can factor this, I have to move this over. So I have x squared minus 7x. I have to add the 12 over. Right now, I want you to pause the video and try to do this by yourself. Try to factor this. Multiply, get 12, add to get negative 7. Should have gotten x minus 3, x minus 4. I set both of those equal to 0. Both of those are equal to 0, so x will be equal to 3 and positive 4. So this is where it crosses the x-axis. Goes through at these 2 points. So again, the first thing I want to do is set equal to 0. Then I need to factor. Pause the video and factor this. It should be x plus 2, x plus 4, set equal to 0. You set each of these equal to 0. Each of them equal to 0, and you solve. So x equals, here I would subtract 2 on both sides, and here I would subtract 4 on both sides. So my two spots where it crosses the x-axis are at negative 4 and negative 2. So these are those 2 points where it crosses. I want you to pause the video and try to factor these. First thing here, I would subtract over the 3. You might have to do the box method to factor this. Here, what do they have in common that I can take out? So if you factor correctly, you should have got x minus, or 2x minus 3 and x plus 1. If I set this equal to 0, I have to, oopsies, it's 2x minus 3. So I have to add the 3 over and then divide by 2. So this should be a positive 3 halves, 0. Again, where it crosses the x-axis, so it's not moving up or down at all. Here I subtract the 1 over. Here I can take out x out of both of these. This gets set equal to 0 because this is changing, because I can change whatever this number is. So x equals 0. Set this one equal to 0, add the 4 over, so 0, 4. So 0 and 4. So again, I want you to pause the video and try to do these three by yourself. So now if I'm looking at this, I subtract my 8x over. I can take out a 2 and an x. So now this can get set equal to 0, and this can get set equal to 0. This has 2 times, so I divide by 2. 0 divided by 2 is still 0, so that's the point 0, 0. Here I have to move the subtract 4, so I add 4 to both sides, so that's 4, 0. Here I subtract the 16x and subtract the 12. This leading coefficient, the x squared, should be positive. It makes your life easier. So if I multiply these two, I get negative 36. The two factors would be negative 18x and positive 2. This is negative, so when I pull out of this right here, I pull out a negative 6. Since this one's positive, when I pull out here, right here, this is a positive 2. I pull out at x, so I have x minus 6, add the 6, I get 6. I have 3x plus 2, subtract the 2, divide by 3, I get negative 2/3. So here are my 2 zeros. Here, I added my 4 over. These all have a 2 in common that I can factor out first. So I can take out a 2. Now I can factor this, what multiplies to get 2. add together to get 3 would be x plus 2 and x plus 1. Subtract the 2, subtract the 1, so here are my zeros. Now you might be saying, wait a second, Mrs. Rickman, what's the difference between this 2 and this 2? Well, notice here, this has a variable. That means I can change what x is equal to. I could plug a number in for x to make this 0. Here, there's no variable. I cannot plug anything into this because there's nowhere to plug it into. This will always be 2, so this does not change. This one can change depending on what x is. So that's the difference between when you pull something out. So now what if I give you the solutions and you have to come up with the answer? Well, it's just basically working backwards. If I have that x is equal to -5, I first would set that equal to 0. So this would be x plus 5 would be equal to 0. Same thing here. If I have x is equal to 1, I can subtract the 1, set it equal to 0. Now I'm just working backwards from what I just did. I can multiply this out, or else you can use your box method. X squared here, x times -1 is -x, 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times -1 is -5. So now I can combine my like terms. I have x squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. That would be my answer if these are my solutions. Wait, what if I just have x is equal to 0? So again, if you are comfortable with not writing out the step, that's fine. So this is just x by itself. This would be x minus 5, because that would be equal to 0. So I have x times x minus 5. I distribute here. So I have x squared minus 5x equals 0. And that would be my answer. Pause the video and try to do this next one by yourself. If you have a solution at x minus 3, that represents x plus 3 right here. A solution at x equals 3, that's x minus 3. So if I do my first outside, inside, last, these two combine together to get 0. So I have x squared minus 9. And there you have it. Binga bada booma. Have a great day.